On a drive round southwestern Brittany, we came first to Tevarez Chateaux Gardens. The entrance is through the stables, which are now used as a cafe. This area contains sculptures created in 2019. The chateau is particularly noted for its gardens, the rhododendrons, roses and camellias in particular. This sculpture was created in 2011. The house is often called the Chateau Rose because of its red brick structure. It was built between 1893 and 1907 in a neo-Gothic style, and was the height of luxury and modernity, with electricity and central heating. In 1941 it was taken over by the Gestapo as their local headquarters. On the 30th of July 1944, 2 RAF Mosquitoes bombed the chateau, unfortunately after the Gestapo had left. As it was built on a steel frame, at least it didn't catch fire. The chateau had running water and flush toilets. There were even plunge pool baths and lifts. Restoration work only began in 1968 after the Finisterre Council bought the estate. There's still much to do, and the rooms are nothing like as elaborate as when this picture was taken. In the dining room, buttons by the cutlery show what each was used for. That's for your soup, that's for your lobster, that's for your fish, and that's for your main course. Opposite the main door is the French formal garden. At the side of the house is a long pond with water-filled spheres made in 2014. The Italian garden is at the end of the pond. The Marquise Avenue gives a view back to the chateau and passes a series of water features. Crossing the Belvedere, one comes to a former stone quarry with a waterfall and rock gardens containing Japanese maples and giant gunera. A path lined with hydrangeas runs along the front of the house. The rhododendron walk leads back to the entrance. In Quimper, around 21 miles to the west, the River Benodet flows down the middle of the main street. It's crossed by a succession of flower-covered bridges. The Gothic Cathedral of St. Corentin was built between the 13th and 15th centuries, although the steeples were only added in 1856. In front of the cathedral is a little cobbled square with modern fountains. To the side is a much larger square with the town hall opposite. French weddings always take place in the town hall before a blessing in the church. The medieval part of town has many outdoor restaurants on its narrow cobbled streets, which are lined with half-timbered houses. At the end of the old town is the River Stair, which flows into the Odet. The elegant covered market was rebuilt in 1979 after a fire. The garden of the Bishop's Palace lies between the cathedral and the river. South of Quimper, a road runs along the coast from Benodet to Concarneau and beyond. Benodet is an attractive seaside resort on the southwest coast of Brittany. It's at the mouth of the estuary of the River Odet. The estuary is very popular for boating, with trips going out to nearby islands or up the river as far as Quimper. The Odet is crossed by the elegant 2,000-foot Concarneau Bridge, which is close to the busy yacht harbour. The coast road to Concarneau goes eastward from Benodet, with long stretches of rocky shoreline. The next hamlet is Le Letty, where La Mer Blanche is sheltered by a dune with only a narrow channel linking it to the sea. It's a perfect spot for kite surfing. Mousseline Point is a rocky promontory jutting out into the sea. The rough water makes for a bumpy ride for jet skiers. Ow! By contrast, Begmel has a coastal path with a pine forest on one side and long sandy beaches on the other. It also has little rocky coves and extensive views to other coastal towns. Cap Cove is in a sheltered little bay, which makes it ideal for boating. Next comes the fishing port of Concarneau, where the old walled town is enclosed by granite ramparts. It's approached by two bridges linked by a tiny island. From the first bridge there are views across the yacht harbour and towards the sea. Next come a pair of arched gateways with a floral courtyard between, leading out into a street lined with shops, restaurants and ice cream parlours. The street leads to a small square where the wine gate opens out into the harbour. Some of the old buildings have interesting niches in the walls. A flight of steps leads to the parapet walk on top of the ramparts, which were built between the 14th and 17th centuries and completely surround the town. An old fishing boat serving as a museum is moored alongside the walls of this fascinating old town. Further on, Cabaloo Point gives good views back to Concarneau. The shoreline here is very rocky. Finally, we came to Drevignon, where the rocks are more interesting.